Imagine eating just 7 walnuts a day and lowering your risk of heart disease, diabetes, memory loss, and even adding more years to your life. Sounds unbelievable? Stay with me, because today I'll share the fascinating science that shows exactly how walnuts can do all of this. Hello everyone, and welcome back to Home Cooking and Home Remedies. Today's episode is about a nut that's been around for thousands of years, but many of us don't give it enough attention. The walnut. Now picture this, you crack open a walnut shell. What do you see inside? 2 lobes, folded and wrinkled, looking almost exactly like a tiny human brain. Isn't that fascinating? Ancient people saw that shape and immediately believed walnuts were food for the brain. They thought nature was giving them a clue, what we now call the doctrine of signatures, the idea that a plant or food tells you what part of the body it helps just by its shape. But here's the amazing part, modern science is now proving that ancient belief wasn't just imagination. Walnuts really do have nutrients that protect the brain and even improve memory. Isn't it amazing how thousands of years ago, without labs or microscopes, people somehow noticed a truth that scientists are confirming today? And it's not just about brain health. Walnuts are linked to a healthier heart, better digestion, reduced inflammation, and even living a longer life. So in today's episode, we're going on a journey. We'll travel back in time to discover how ancient civilizations used walnuts. We'll open them up scientifically and see what nutrients make them so powerful. We'll dive into modern research, Harvard, UCLA, Spanish heart studies, that show just how much difference a handful of walnuts can make. And of course, I'll share practical, everyday ways you can add walnuts into your life, recipes, remedies, even myths we need to clear up. By the end of this podcast, you'll never look at walnuts the same way again. So stay with me till the end, because this is a story that's going to connect the past, the present, and your health in a way that's truly unforgettable. 1. The ancient story of walnuts. Let's start our journey thousands of years ago. Walnuts are not just food. They're part of human history. Archaeologists have found walnut shells in excavations dating back 8,000 to 10,000 years. That means people have been eating and treasuring walnuts since the very dawn of civilization. In Persia, modern-day Iran, walnuts were considered so valuable they were called the royal nut. Ordinary people weren't even allowed to eat them. They were reserved only for kings and nobles. That's how precious they were. When walnuts spread to ancient Greece, philosophers and physicians praised them as food for the mind. They even had a special name, carrion, which means head, again linking it to the human brain. The Romans took it one step further. They believed walnuts symbolized fertility and abundance. And here's a story you might enjoy. In Roman weddings, instead of throwing rice or confetti like we do today, guests threw walnuts. Imagine the scene. Newlyweds walking through a shower of crunchy nuts, each one carrying wishes for prosperity and children. Even in the Middle Ages, walnuts carried a mystical reputation. Healers used them for headaches and nervous disorders. People believed carrying a walnut in your pocket could protect you from evil spirits. So walnuts have always been more than food. They were symbols of wisdom, prosperity, fertility, and health. But here's the key transition. Those ancient beliefs, rooted in observation and tradition, are now finding solid ground in modern scientific research. The ancients may not have had laboratories, but they had intuition. Today, we can finally see why they revered walnuts so much. What's inside a walnut? The nutritional science. Now that we've traveled through the fascinating history of walnuts, let's open one up. Not just to see the brain-shaped halves, but to uncover the treasure chest of nutrients inside. When you look at a walnut, you might just see a crunchy snack. But scientists see something else. They see a superfood that's so densely packed with health-boosting compounds, it's almost like nature designed it as medicine. Let's break it down. 1. Omega-3 fatty acids, ALA. Walnuts are the only tree nut that's an excellent source of plant-based omega-3 fatty acids, specifically alpha-linolenic acid, or ALA. Just 1 ounce of walnuts, about 7 whole walnuts, gives you 2.5 grams of ALA. That's more than enough to meet your daily requirement. Why does this matter? Omega-3s are the building blocks for your brain and nervous system. They fight inflammation, improve blood flow, and even help stabilize mood. Think of them as the oil that keeps the brain's engine running smoothly. Story hook. There's a study from Harvard showing that people who ate more ALA-rich foods, like walnuts, had a lower risk of heart disease by 10%. Imagine something so simple, just a handful of nuts, making such a measurable difference. 2. Antioxidants and polyphenol. Next, let's talk about antioxidants. Walnuts are loaded with polyphenol, especially ellagic acid and catechins. In fact, researchers at the University of Scranton once tested 9 different nuts and found that walnuts had the highest antioxidant levels of them all. Why is this important? Free radicals, tiny unstable molecules, cause damage to our cells, leading to aging, memory decline, and even cancer risk. Antioxidants are like shields, protecting our cells from this damage. Eating walnuts is like sending a team of bodyguards into your bloodstream. 3. Protein and fiber. Walnuts aren't just about healthy fats. They also give you 4 grams of protein per ounce, plus 2 grams of fiber. That combination makes you feel fuller for longer, reducing cravings. That's why walnuts are often recommended in weight management programs. They naturally control appetite. Storytelling angle. A study from Yale showed that when people ate walnuts regularly, MRI scans of their brains showed activity in regions linked to control and satiety. In simple words, walnuts literally tell your brain you're full. 4. Vitamins and minerals. Walnuts are also a rich source of vitamin E protects your skin and cells from oxidative damage. B vitamins, especially B6 and folate, which help with brain chemistry and energy. A magnesium relaxes muscles, lowers blood pressure, improves sleep. Copper and manganese, essential for bone health and energy production. If you put all of this together, walnuts are like a tiny natural multivitamin wrapped inside a shell. 5. A balanced package. Here's the real beauty. It's not just one nutrient. It's the combination. Omega-3s, antioxidants, protein, fiber, vitamins, and minerals, all working together like a symphony. Scientists call this the food matrix. It's why eating walnuts is far more powerful than just taking a supplement pill. A handful of walnuts is not just a snack. It's a brain booster, heart protector, hunger controller, and antioxidant powerhouse, all in one. And remember, this isn't just theory. Each claim I've shared is backed by peer-reviewed research, Harvard, Yale, USDA studies, even large international trials. That's why nutritionists today call walnuts one of the most scientifically validated superfoods. And speaking of the brain, let's now dive deeper into one of the most fascinating parts of walnut research, how they specifically boost memory and brain function. Walnuts and brain health. Alright, now that we've cracked open the walnut and seen what's inside, let's focus on one of the most exciting areas of research, the brain. Remember how I said walnuts look like tiny brains? Well, science has confirmed that this is more than just a coincidence. Let me explain. 1. Memory and cognitive function. Researchers at UCLA studied more than 15,000 adults and found that those who ate walnuts regularly scored significantly higher on memory tests, concentration exercises, and information processing speed. And here's the amazing part. This benefit was seen across all age groups, from young adults to seniors. Imagine a college student cramming for exams, a working parent juggling multiple responsibilities, and an older grandparent trying to keep their memory sharp. All 3 can benefit from walnuts in different but powerful ways. 2. Protecting the brain from aging. As we get older, our brains face wear and tear, oxidative stress, inflammation, and declining nerve connections. Walnuts are rich in antioxidants and omega-3s that protect neurons, the brain's communication cells. In fact, a Spanish clinical trial found that older adults who ate walnuts daily for 2 years had slower rates of cognitive decline compared to those who didn't. Their brains literally aged more slowly. Think about it. If adding a simple handful of walnuts to your diet could help preserve your memory for years longer, isn't that incredible? 3. Stress, mood, and mental health. But it's not just memory. Walnuts also influence mood. The omega-3 fatty acids in walnuts are essential for producing serotonin and dopamine, our happy chemicals. A fascinating study on college students showed that those who ate walnuts reported lower levels of stress and anxiety during exams. So, next time you're feeling overwhelmed, instead of reaching for chips or chocolate, try a small bowl of walnuts. I once read about a student who called walnuts his exam fuel. He swore that switching from late-night junk food to a handful of walnuts kept him calmer and more focused. Science would agree with his experience. 4. Brain blood flow. Here's another fascinating point. Walnuts contain a compound called arginine, which helps produce nitric oxide, a molecule that widens blood vessels and improves circulation. Better circulation means more oxygen and nutrients reaching the brain. That's why eating walnuts has been linked to sharper focus and quicker thinking. It's almost like walnuts help irrigate your brain with fresh energy. 5. Fun fact: walnuts in space. Did you know walnuts are even trusted by NASA? Astronauts have carried walnuts as part of their space diet. Why? Because they're lightweight, nutrient-dense, and provide the kind of brain and body support astronauts need when they're floating in space for months. Just imagine what fuels astronauts orbiting Earth could also be fueling your brain right now. Walnuts don't just look like brains, they feed the brain, protect it, and keep it young. They boost memory, reduce stress, improve mood, and slow aging. If you're a student, a busy professional, or someone entering their golden years, walnuts are a friend you want on your side. And speaking of health, let's move from the brain down to another organ that benefits enormously from walnuts, the heart. Because what's good for the brain often turns out to be good for the heart too. For heart health and longevity. Now that we've seen how walnuts nourish the brain, let's travel a little lower to the heart. Because if there's one thing walnuts are most famous for in scientific research, it's their incredible ability to protect the heart. 1. The cholesterol fighter. We all know high cholesterol clogs arteries and increases the risk of heart attacks. Walnuts are like little cholesterol warriors. Clinical trials have shown that eating walnuts can lower LDL cholesterol, the so-called bad cholesterol, while maintaining or even increasing HDL cholesterol, the good one. In fact, a review of 26 studies found that people who ate walnuts had an average drop of 9 to 10 mg/dl in LDL cholesterol. That might sound like a small number, but even a 10-point drop can reduce your heart attack risk by as much as 20%. 2. The PREDIME study, a landmark in nutrition. One of the most famous studies on heart health is the PREDIME trial in Spain. Thousands of participants were put on a Mediterranean diet, and one group was asked to eat an ounce of nuts daily, including walnuts. After 5 years, the nut group had a 30% lower risk of heart attacks, strokes, and death from heart disease. Imagine that, just adding a handful of nuts to a traditional diet saved lives. 3. Blood vessel flexibility. Here's something many people don't know. Our blood vessels aren't rigid pipes. They're living, flexible tubes that expand and contract. Walnuts contain an amino acid called arginine that helps make nitric oxide, which relaxes those vessels. Think of it like oiling the hinges of a door. The smoother the movement, the better the blood flows. That's why studies show walnut eaters have better blood vessel elasticity, meaning lower blood pressure and healthier circulation. Let me share a true story I came across. An older gentleman in California had been struggling with high cholesterol and early signs of heart disease. His doctor advised him to start walking daily and swap his afternoon cookies for a small handful of walnuts. 6 months later, his cholesterol numbers dropped so much that his doctor reduced his medication. He used to joke with his family, saying, "These wrinkled little nuts ironed out the wrinkles in my arteries." Science shows he wasn't wrong. 5. Longevity link. And it's not just about avoiding heart disease, it's about living longer. Harvard researchers studied over 100,000 people for 30 years and found that those who ate walnuts at least 5 times a week lived on average 1.3 years longer than those who rarely ate them. A year and 3 months may not sound like much, but think about what that means. More time with your loved ones, more moments to enjoy life, all from a habit as simple as eating walnuts regularly. So when you think of walnuts, don't just picture a snack. Picture them as tiny life extenders, nourishing your arteries, lowering cholesterol, and literally helping your heart beat longer and stronger. And here's a golden rule in science. What protects the heart often protects the whole body. In the next segment, we'll see how walnuts go beyond brain and heart to improve weight management, diabetes, inflammation, even cancer protection. Stay with me, it's going to get even more fascinating. Walnuts and whole body wellness. Walnuts are not just good for the brain and heart, they impact the whole body in amazing ways. One of the most surprising benefits is weight management. Many people assume nuts will make them gain weight because they are high in calories, but research proves the opposite. A study from Yale University scanned the brains of people after they consumed a walnut smoothie. The MRI showed that the part of the brain that controls hunger and cravings, the insula, lit up in a way that made participants feel fuller and more satisfied. As a result, they craved less junk food. This means walnuts act like a natural appetite controller. Instead of constantly battling cravings, your brain quietly tells you, "I'm full." That's why nutritionists often recommend walnuts as a snack for weight control. Another area where walnuts shine is diabetes. Type 2 diabetes is rising worldwide, and walnuts may help reduce the risk. A study published in Diabetes Care found that people with type 2 diabetes who ate a small handful of walnuts daily had better insulin sensitivity, meaning their bodies could use insulin more effectively to control blood sugar. Large population studies also found that women who ate walnuts twice a week had up to a 24% lower risk of developing type 2 diabetes. This shows that walnuts not only help manage blood sugar spikes but also protect against the disease long-term. Walnuts are also powerful anti-inflammatory foods. Chronic inflammation is like a silent fire that damages tissues, causes joint pain, and even increases the risk of cancer. Studies published in the American Journal of Clinical Nutrition found that walnut consumption lowered C-reactive protein, CRP, a major marker of inflammation. This is because walnuts are packed with polyphenol, magnesium, and omega-3 fatty acids, all of which calm the immune system and reduce unnecessary inflammation. You can imagine inflammation as sparks burning inside the body, and walnuts act like sprinklers, putting out those sparks before they turn into dangerous flames. Another surprising benefit of walnuts is gut health. A study at the University of Illinois showed that eating walnuts daily increased the population of healthy gut bacteria such as lactobacillus. These beneficial microbes produce short-chain fatty acids, which improve digestion, strengthen immunity, and even support mood balance. This means when you eat walnuts, you are not just feeding yourself, you are also feeding billions of good bacteria inside your body, making your gut ecosystem stronger and healthier. Walnuts are also considered a beauty food. The vitamin E and antioxidants inside walnuts protect the skin from premature aging and oxidative stress, keeping it glowing and youthful. Their omega-3 fatty acids help maintain skin elasticity and hydration, while B vitamins and biotin strengthen hair roots and make hair shinier. Ancient Persians even used walnut oil as a natural hair tonic, and now science proves why it worked. Sleep is another area where walnuts play a role. They naturally contain melatonin, the hormone that regulates sleep cycles. A study in the Nutrition journal showed that eating walnuts increased melatonin levels in the blood, leading to improved sleep quality. Combined with magnesium, which relaxes muscles and nerves, walnuts are a simple natural remedy for better rest. A handful of walnuts after dinner may work better than any sleeping pill. Even fertility can benefit from walnuts. A UCLA study on men showed that those who ate 75 grams of walnuts daily for 12 weeks had improved sperm count, quality, and motility. For women, walnuts provide folate and omega-3s, which are important for hormonal balance and fetal brain development. In short, walnuts support reproductive health for both men and women, making them a true family nut. Perhaps one of the most fascinating areas of walnut research is cancer prevention. Animal studies have shown that compounds in walnuts slow the growth of breast and prostate tumors. Reviews in the Journal of Nutrition suggest that walnuts may reduce oxidative DNA damage, one of the earliest steps in cancer development. While they are not a cure, walnuts could act as a natural shield, lowering risk through their antioxidants and anti-inflammatory compounds. Finally, walnuts are linked to longer life. A Harvard study followed more than 100,000 people for 30 years and found that those who ate walnuts 5 times per week lived, on average, 1.3 years longer than those who rarely ate them. They also had a lower risk of dying from heart disease and cancer. Think about what that means. Just a handful of walnuts could give you more moments, more memories, and more life. So when you look at walnuts, don't just see a snack. See a daily self-care ritual packed into a shell. They help with weight control, balance blood sugar, fight inflammation, support digestion, protect skin and hair, improve sleep, boost fertility, lower cancer risk, and even extend life. Truly, walnuts are one of nature's most complete superfoods. How to add walnuts to your daily life. Now that we know how powerful walnuts are, the next question is, how do we actually make them part of our daily life? The good news is, walnuts are incredibly versatile. You can eat them raw, roasted, blended, or even soaked. Let's explore some easy and practical ways. One of the simplest habits is to eat walnuts first thing in the morning. Many traditional cultures recommend soaking walnuts overnight in a glass of water. In the morning, the softened nuts are easier to digest and their nutrients, like antioxidants and omega-3s, become more bioavailable. In fact, Ayurvedic practices have used soaked walnuts for centuries as a natural brain and energy booster. Just 5 to 7 soaked walnuts with a glass of warm water can be a powerful morning ritual. Walnuts also make fantastic snacks. Instead of reaching for chips or biscuits, keep a small jar of walnuts in your bag or desk. Pair them with a few raisins or dates for quick energy, or mix them with yogurt and fruit for a filling midday snack. If you're someone who loves smoothies, just toss in a handful of walnuts. They blend beautifully and add creaminess along with protein and healthy fats. Cooking with walnuts is another wonderful option. Sprinkle chopped walnuts over salads for crunch, add them to curries or stir-fried vegetables, or blend them into sauces. In many Middle Eastern cuisines, walnuts are ground into dips like mohamara, a roasted red pepper and walnut spread that's both delicious and healthy. In baking, walnuts shine in banana bread, cookies, or brownies, turning ordinary desserts into nutrient-rich treats. And don't forget traditional remedies. A common natural energy booster is walnuts mixed with honey. This combination not only tastes amazing but also gives you a steady release of energy without the crash of sugary snacks. Another old remedy is walnut oil, used both for cooking and as a topical oil for hair and skin. While the science is still catching up, traditional wisdom often has a way of being validated over time. Now, let's do a little myth busting. Some people avoid walnuts thinking they cause weight gain or acne. But research shows that moderate walnut intake actually helps with weight control and skin health, thanks to their omega-3s and antioxidants. The key is moderation. 5 to 7 walnuts a day is enough. Eating an entire bowl at once won't make you healthier. So whether you prefer them soaked, raw, roasted, or blended into recipes, walnuts can easily fit into your routine. Think of them not as a supplement you need to force into your diet, but as a delicious food that naturally enhances whatever you're already eating. In the next and final segment, we'll talk about safety, precautions, and the right way to consume walnuts so you can enjoy all the benefits without any downsides. Safety and precautions. Now, before you rush out and buy a big bag of walnuts, let's pause for an important part of the conversation: safety and precautions. Because like all powerful foods, walnuts have to be enjoyed the right way. The first and most serious concern is allergy. Tree nut allergies, including walnut allergy, can cause reactions ranging from mild itching and hives to severe breathing problems. For people with nut allergies, even a small amount of walnut can be dangerous. So if you or anyone in your family has a known nut allergy, it's best to avoid walnuts completely and consult a doctor before trying them. For those without allergies, moderation is key. Walnuts are rich in calories and fats. Even though they are healthy fats, eating too many can still lead to unnecessary calorie load. Nutrition experts usually recommend 5 to 7 whole walnuts a day. That's about 1 ounce. This amount is enough to get all the health benefits without overdoing it. Remember, with walnuts, more is not always better. Storage is another important point. Walnuts are high in delicate oils that can turn rancid if they're exposed to heat or air for too long. Rancid walnuts not only taste bitter, but they also lose their health benefits. The best way to store walnuts is in an airtight container in the fridge, or even the freezer if you buy them in bulk. This way, they stay fresh for months and retain their nutrients. Finally, a quick note on medical interactions. Walnuts are generally safe, but because they affect blood flow and cholesterol, people on strong blood-thinning medications or with thyroid conditions should check with their doctor before eating large amounts regularly. So here's the bottom line. Walnuts are safe, powerful, and beneficial, but like all good things, they should be eaten with balance and awareness. Respect the nut, and it will reward you with health. And there we have it, our complete journey through the world of walnuts. From their ancient history as the royal nut of Persia, to the Greek belief that they were food for the mind, all the way to today's modern research proving their power for the brain, heart, and body. We've seen how walnuts fight cravings, balance blood sugar, calm inflammation, feed the gut, support skin and hair, improve sleep, boost fertility, protect against cancer, and even help us live longer. Think about it. Inside one small, wrinkled nut is a story of wisdom, science, and wellness. Walnuts are not just food. They are nature's prescription for a healthier, sharper, stronger life. So here's my challenge for you. Starting today, add just a handful, 5 to 7 walnuts, into your daily routine. Try soaking them overnight for a morning boost, sprinkle them on your salad, blend them into a smoothie, or simply eat them as a snack. Don't just listen to the science, experience it in your own body. And when you do, pay attention to the little changes. Better focus, calmer energy, smoother digestion, deeper sleep. These small shifts add up to big transformations. Thank you for joining me on Home Cooking and Home Remedies. If you enjoyed this episode, share it with a friend or family member. You might just be giving them the gift of better health. And don't forget to subscribe, because in our next episode, we'll explore another amazing natural food that has been healing humans for centuries. Until then, remember this. Sometimes the most powerful medicine isn't found in a pharmacy. It's waiting for you inside a simple walnut shell.